Hi everyone, yeah, welcome back. Good to see you again. You're looking well. Get yourself a seat up front and get a drink. We're going to get started. Because yes, there's a show. It's all been happening and now you want to know. But before we can start, we must begin with hello. My name is Sean, your host and fellow. Now grab hold your beverage, your mind just as quick. We're building up for our best sip. So join me now for the greatest pleasure, where we unwind this world together. It's time now. It's time for the sip. Let's do it now. Let's do it quick. Go! Yes, very refreshing. Well, a 61-year-old man in a quiet German neighborhood completely lost it over his neighbor's pounding meat to make a schnitzel. The loud hammering apparently drove him into a rage, so he stormed over, verbally abusing the guy, and then slapped him in the face. Police were called to the scene for what turned into a full schnitzel dispute. The attacker claimed he was provoked and the neighbor had insulted him first. Officers had to mediate what could only be described as a full-blown schnitzel show over dinner prep noise. If only he had gone for a kebab instead, he may not have been donnered. Meanwhile, in the US, King Charles has arrived in the US for first state visit as a monarch. On Monday, King Charles III arrived in Washington, D.C. for a 4-day state visit, marking the United States' 250th anniversary, with security under the spotlight following a shooting incident on Saturday. Trump and the King are to have 4 days of events marking the 250 years since American independence. President Donald Trump criticized Prime Minister Keir Starmer for not supporting military action in Iran, adding strain to transatlantic ties ahead of the monarch's visit. A shooting on Saturday at a dinner attended by Trump sparked a last-minute security review, with Buckingham Palace confirmed that the trip will proceed as planned, including a White House dinner and Tuesday's congressional speech. Arriving yesterday at Joint Base Andrews, the King went to Trump for private tea in the green room at the White House. Today, the full state arrival ceremony is taking place on the White House southern lawn, with a full show planned, military honors, 21-gun salute, troop inspection, presidential marks, etc., etc. Bilateral meetings will be held, and King Charles is expected to address joint session of Congress, which is an incredibly rare event. The only other time it's happened is when Charles's own mother, Queen Elizabeth II, did so in 1991. There will be a full state dinner held this evening. Hopefully it will be less problematic than the recent Correspondents' Dinner, but I expect it will go well. For the remaining 2 days, there are trips planned to commemorate the 9/11 attacks and paying respects to the fallen soldiers in Virginia. The visit is highlighting the special relationship between the US and the UK, with focus being on the shared history, military alliance, environmental and cultural ties. So yeah, it's good that this is happening, and that there's some bridge building going on. I think that's a very positive step. There's been some tension between the two countries for a good 12 months or so. Things have felt fractured at times, but this will hopefully be a good reset. One interesting fact that has come out of it during the state visit is that Trump is actually the King's distant cousin, both having a common ancestor called John Stuart, who was the third Earl of Lennox and a Scottish nobleman. That was around 1490 to 1526. So, fair distance away, but I think it was the 12th or 13th cousin, Grok said. But yeah, connection runs through Trump's Scottish mother, Mary Ann MacLeod Trump, and yeah, they have some distant relation. Meanwhile, we're going over to South Korea. South Korea overtakes Britain as the 8th largest stock market. South Korea leapfrogged Britain on Tuesday to become the world's 8th largest stock market, with the total market capitalization surging more than 45% to just over $4 trillion, versus Britain's 3.99 trillion, only a few trillion. This rapid growth stems from a high-octane rally in AI-linked technology champions, where Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix now account for more than 40% of the Kospi index total market capitalization. As recently as the end of 2024, the British market was about double the size of Korea's, so it highlights how dramatically global rankings can shift as investors pivot away to or towards AI hardware companies. So yeah, quite an interesting story that it shows how quickly things can move when a disruptive new technology comes along. Most of it's driven by huge demand for hardware though, and if that bubble pops, then we might see that order reversed again. But without the UK really having any kind of manufacturing of its own for AI chips especially, or really publishing any of their own models, UK startups kind of have to rely on well, mostly part of the secondary market. So they're mostly consumers and they mostly use AI for their businesses. No doubt there'll be a couple of very successful ones, but if they can match the scale of revenue, I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But it's quite surprising actually. I didn't really expect to see that story today. So I think that comes on. I wonder if yeah, because there was a story a few weeks ago about how the UK is not even sort of bigger than any other states in the UK in the US at the moment. So yeah, times are changing. Yeah, and that brings me to the end of my notes. Really, it's another short one today. It's probably going to be the same for most of the week as the movie's underway. But yeah, I'll be working to keep up the momentum and try and keep these videos going. So yeah, get subscribed and stay in touch, basically. Finally, I'll leave you with my final word, or final note, and that is don't underestimate the value of a good night's sleep. Many problems have been solved by simply letting the brain do what it does best at night, and that's to rest and recover. And with that, I will say thank you very much, and I bid you well, and say see you later.